Have you ever looked in the mirror and seen a face that used to smile, but now only looks tired? Have you ever been so strong for so long that even your strength started to feel heavy? This is the story of a woman who forgot how strong she truly was, until life reminded her in the most unexpected way. In a small, quiet village surrounded by fields and rivers, there lived a woman named Mira. People called her brave, but she never thought of herself that way. To her, bravery was not a choice. It was survival. When her husband passed away 5 years ago, Mira was left with 2 young children and a small piece of land. Everyone said, "She's strong, she'll manage." And she did. She woke before sunrise, cooked breakfast for her children, worked in the fields till noon, and stitched clothes in the evenings to earn extra money. She smiled when people visited, laughed when others made jokes, and listened when her neighbors shared their problems. But when night fell and the lamps went out, her smile disappeared. That's when her silence spoke louder than words. One evening, as she was closing her shop, her daughter asked softly, "Mama, are you happy?" Mira froze. She had no answer. She looked at her daughter's innocent face and realized she hadn't thought about her own happiness in years. She only knew duty, not joy. She only knew strength, not peace. The next morning, as usual, Mira went to the field with her old wooden basket. The sun was kind. The wind carried the smell of earth and rain. She bent down to pull weeds, but her hands felt weak. Her head spun. She sat on the edge of the field, trying to catch her breath. For the first time in years, she let herself stop. She closed her eyes, and tears she didn't even know she was holding began to fall. In that quiet moment, she whispered, "I'm tired." No one was around, but somehow it felt like the earth heard her. That evening, her old neighbor Aunt Ronnie came by. She saw Mira sitting outside, staring at the sunset. Without asking anything, Aunt Ronnie placed a cup of tea beside her and said gently, "You remind me of a tree, Mira. Always standing tall, even when your roots are dry." Mira looked at her and smiled faintly. "I'm just doing what I must." Aunt Ronnie shook her head. "No, child. You've been doing what you had to do. Now you must do what your heart needs." That night, those words kept echoing in her mind. Now you must do what your heart needs. Mira lay awake, listening to the sound of crickets, the clock ticking on the wall, and her own thoughts for the first time in years. She realized something simple. She didn't even know what her heart needed anymore. The next morning, she decided to walk to the lake, something she hadn't done since her husband died. The path was the same: green grass, quiet road, soft breeze. But she felt like a stranger to it. When she reached the lake, the water was still. She saw her reflection in it, not the strong woman everyone saw, but a tired soul craving softness. She whispered to herself, "I forgot her. The woman I used to be before life became so hard." That day, she made a small promise. One small change each morning. The first day, she sat by the lake for 10 minutes before work. The second day, she took her old paintbrushes and painted wildflowers on a piece of wood. The third day, she baked bread and actually sat down to eat it slowly instead of rushing. These little moments didn't solve everything, but they began to heal something inside her. Her weeks passed. The villagers began to notice something different about Mira. Her voice was softer. Her eyes looked alive again. She smiled, not out of politeness, but out of peace. Children who passed by her house would wave and say, "Mira, auntie, you look happy today." She would laugh and reply, Maybe I am. One afternoon, it started to rain heavy, cleansing rain. Mira ran outside with her children. They laughed, danced, and let the rain wash away years of dust and sorrow. For the first time, she felt free. Not because life was perfect, but because she had stopped pretending it had to be. That evening, Aunt Ronnie visited again. She looked at Mira and smiled knowingly. "You found her, didn't you?" "Found who?" Mira asked. "The woman you used to be." Mira smiled quietly and said, "No. I found the woman I was always meant to be." Days turned into months. Mira's small tailoring business began to grow. She taught a few other village women how to stitch and earn their own income. Every evening she gathered them near her porch, and together they sewed clothes, shared stories, and laughed about little things. She no longer carried the world on her shoulders. She shared it, and in doing so, she discovered how light life could feel one day. Her daughter brought her a drawing. It showed a big tree with deep roots and a bright sun. Below it, she had written, "My mother, the strongest tree." Mira smiled through tears. But this time, she whispered, "Yes, I'm strong, but I also rest." Another evening, while walking back from the market, Mira met a younger woman from the village named Sarah. Sarah was crying quietly, her eyes red, her hands trembling. She said, "Everyone keeps telling me to stay strong, but I can't anymore." Mira placed her hand gently on her shoulder and said, "Then don't. You don't have to be strong all the time. Sometimes strength is in knowing when to rest." Sarah looked at her, confused but comforted. And that moment reminded Mira of the night she had whispered the same words to herself. As the years passed, Mira became known not just as a strong woman, but as a peaceful one. Her story spread quietly through the village. People said, "She's the one who learned how to heal herself." And slowly, that inspired others to do the same. One day, as she sat by the lake again, her son asked, "Mama, do you ever miss who you were before?" She smiled and said softly, "No, my son, because she was surviving. Now I'm living." As the sun began to set, the sky turned gold and pink. Mira closed her eyes and felt the same breeze that once carried her tear. Now it carried her peace. She whispered, "Thank you, life, for breaking me just enough to show me what I was made of." And maybe that's what strength truly is. Not how much you can carry, but how gently you can put it down when it becomes too heavy. Not how loud you can be, but how quietly you can rebuild yourself after the storm has passed. If you're listening to this right now, maybe you're like Mira. Maybe you've been holding everything together for so long that you forgot you're allowed to fall apart too. Maybe you think strength means never showing your pain. But listen, real strength isn't about pretending you're fine. It's about being honest with yourself and still choosing to move forward. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to take one gentle step at a time. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is, "I'm tired." And the most beautiful thing you can do is let yourself rest. Remember this before you forget yourself again. You are not weak for needing peace. You are not broken for feeling tired. You are not behind for starting over. You are human, and you are stronger than you think. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video. Share it with someone who has been strong for too long, and comment below. When was the last time you allowed yourself to rest? If Mira's journey inspired you, you'll love our next story. Remember this before you forget yourself. Emotional story about self-love. This story will show you how to reconnect with your inner self, love yourself fully, and never lose sight of who you truly are. After finishing this video, click and watch it next. Your heart and soul will thank you.